Hello everyone, and welcome once again to Caleb Likes Metal. Today we have the first in a series that I'm planning to do every month, talking about some albums that I listened to this month in July, or rather last month in July. I don't know if in the future if I'll just be focusing on, a handful of albums, or if I happen to listen to like a whole bunch of them or something. But this month I'm going to discuss briefly every album that I listen to. Some of them I have more to say about than others, but I want to highlight all of them because I think they all are worth highlighting in some way. So I'm just going to go through these in the order that I listen to them. Some of these are new releases, some of them are older. So without further ado, let's get into it. First things first, I listened to the new Born of Osiris album called Through Shadows. Born of Osiris is a band that I have been listening to for several years. They were one of the earlier bands that I got into that were kind of in that like modern metalcore, deathcore kind of vein, kind of around like 2015 or so. And I had already been into some metalcore bands, but they were the first of their particular kind of style that I really got into. This album to me was okay. Like it had a few really solid songs on it, but I felt like it was a little underwhelming to me personally. I don't know why exactly. I think in general things about it were done well, like across the board things were done well, but it just didn't have the standout factor as some of their other previous albums. Like their last album, Angel or Alien, I loved personally. It is, in my opinion, one of, if not their best album. And this one, like, it just had, it had a couple really decent songs on it, but in general, like, out of all the albums I listened to this month, I actually feel like this is probably the most forgettable one, unfortunately. It was okay, it was fine, but didn't quite love it. Then I have the album The Last Alliance by Battlelore. This is a symphonic metal band with some kind of symphonic metal, melodic death metal, a little bit kind of thing. This is a band that I hadn't really heard of before. I had heard them mentioned once or twice, which is why I was kind of interested in checking them out. And I have a playlist on Spotify where I just put songs from albums that I want to listen to, and I was looking through that, trying to find something to listen to, and I figured, I feel like maybe listening to this. So I checked it out, and I enjoyed it. It was nothing incredible to me, but I did enjoy it decently all the way through. Enough to like add some songs to playlists and things like that, but it's not one of those albums that I listened to and like absolutely loved, but it was pretty solid. I enjoyed it. I would recommend it if you're interested in some like symphonic metal type stuff with a little bit of melodic death metal, like growling vocals and things here and there. It's a solid album for sure. I would recommend it. I listened to an album that I have no idea how I hadn't heard prior to this. I listened to Storm of the Lights Bane by Dissection, which is generally considered one of the most influential melodic black metal albums of all time. Dissection in general is kind of one of the more influential extreme metal bands. I had never really listened to them before, and I've been listening to extreme metal for years now, so I don't know why I never really gave these guys a shot before. I've wanted to, I just never got around to it, but I listened to this album and I loved it. I could definitely see, some of the bands that I have listened to before, some of the bands that I love, I could definitely see where they kind of took some influence from this album. It felt very reminiscent to some of those bands, and in general was just a really, really good album, really good riffs, really, I really like black metal in general, but I especially, I think, really like it when it's very melodic. I like very melodic music. I'm really into, when it comes to metalcore, I really like melodic metalcore. When it comes to, death metal, I prefer melodic death metal generally, things like that. I like stuff that has a high sense of melody to it, and this really had that, in addition to the intensity and the extremity of something like black metal, which I really enjoyed. It's a really, really great album. I can see why it gets as much praise as it does, why it was as influential as it was. I was hoping I might be able to get to one of Dissection's other albums this month, but I didn't. But I will definitely be checking out more of them in the future because I really, really like this one. It's fantastic. Then I listened to an album by the band TREMOR, which I looked up what the actual translation of this album title is, but I can't remember it now. But I did listen to this album. This is a symphonic black metal band that is pretty underground. I think they've only got maybe a few dozen listeners on Spotify, if I remember. I discovered this band actually like years ago, and I had never really listened to their music since. But I discovered them when I, one point, was looking up covers of the Immortal song Withstand the Fall of Time, because I love that song. And I found that they did a cover of that song, which is awesome, by the way. Recently, when I was doing re-listen to Immortal's discography for a video that I'm working on, I went and I listened to that cover again because I thought of it and I was like, oh, that was a really good cover, I should go listen to it. And I was like, oh, they've got a couple albums out, I should listen to one sometime. And so I listened to this one and I really liked it. Really solid, some good songs on there that I really liked that got on some playlists and things, and just generally a really solid symphonic black metal album that I would recommend. If you're looking for like symphonic black metal type stuff, then definitely check this album out. It's a really good one. Then I listened to this album as well by the band Rye, which again, I don't know the translation of it. All these bands that I listen to that use like the Russian, lettering and stuff, I don't know how to read it, but I really like them, so it's kind of annoying. But this is a band that I've really liked for several years now. They're kind of like an atmospheric black doom metal band. Like some of their songs are very black metal-y, some of their songs are very doomy, some of them are much more ambient and atmospheric. They kind of go back and forth between those styles. And this was their new album that came out this year, and I just hadn't gotten around to listening to yet. And I was in the mood for listening to them, so I decided to check it out. And I loved this album. It's one of my favorite albums I listened to this month for sure. Some really good, like, usual stuff that they do, like with the black metal and that kind of thing. And then, like, the last couple songs included some kind of folky music type stuff to it that I really liked. Kind of remind me of something similar to a band like Heilung or that kind of Nordic folk music kind of bands, Wardruna and some other ones like that I am aware of. And I actually have been listening to a lot of that kind of music lately while I've been working on stuff. And so that was kind of fun to see. And I really liked seeing how they integrated that into their music. And it was a really good album. The only thing about it that kind of threw me off was I didn't love the production on it, at least at first. It kind of grew on me as I listened to it. I did think that some of their previous stuff kind of sounded better to my ear, but the music in general was really good. And those last couple songs I loved. The last song on this album especially blew me away. I love that song. Definitely would recommend checking it out if you're into atmospheric black metal, doom metal, that kind of thing. They're a really cool band. They're super underrated. Highly recommend them. And I skipped over this one earlier. I meant to say it earlier because I did listen to it before the TREMOR album, forgot to mention it, but I listened to the new album from Slaughter to Prevail called GRIZZLY. Now, I know Slaughter to Prevail is kind of one of those bands that it's kind of popular to hate on, and I can get why to an extent. I do think some of the stuff with them is a little bit cringy, but I can't deny that I do enjoy some of the music that they do. And I became a fan of these guys, I think a little before their last album, Costolum, came out. And I really did enjoy some of the stuff on their last album. Didn't love everything. They leaned a little more nu metal than I tend to like. Nu metal generally isn't really my thing. But I did enjoy some of the songs on that album. This album was simultaneously impressive and disappointing, because there was a couple songs on it that I really, really liked. There was one, I believe it's called The Hellet, but I really, really liked that song. That was one of my favorite songs these guys have ever made. On top of that, the singles, 1984 is still a really good song. Viking is a song I still really like. I've seen some people call Slaughter to Prevail, and this album in particular, kind of formulaic. And oh, they're just doing the thing they always do. I honestly don't agree with that. I mean, Slaughter to Prevail does have a formula that they kind of stick with, I think. But this album, to me, felt like something a little different and fresh. And even though I didn't love all of it, I can at least appreciate that about it. I also really didn't like a couple songs on here, like Russian Grizzly in America. Didn't care for that song, but chorus especially I just didn't like. The rest of the songs are fine, but I didn't like the chorus of that song. And then the song that they did with Baby Metal, which cool idea for a collaboration, I guess, but I hated that song. Did not enjoy the song with Ronnie Radke either, I'm Dead. I did not like that song. Not even because it included Ronnie Radke, I just didn't like the song in general. Yeah, so kind of an all over the place album, but it did make for an interesting listen, so I guess there's that. And I listened to the debut full-length album from Psycho Frame, which is Salvation Laughs in the Face of a Grieving Mother. This is a deathcore band that has released a handful of EPs up to this point, which I really, really enjoyed. They're kind of more, I feel like kind of like an old school deathcore kind of thing going on with them. And I really, really liked this album. Kind of got the issue that some deathcore does have for me, especially more like old school kind of deathcore, where it feels a little too repetitive, so it's like I wouldn't necessarily prefer to listen to the entire thing all at once again, but every single song I did really enjoy, and it's just generally a really, really well done deathcore album that I really had a good time with, and would definitely recommend checking out. These guys seem to be getting pretty big recently. They're kind of, one of those newer deathcore bands that has really taken off. And I think it's absolutely deserved because this album, in addition to their previous material, is really, really good, and I really enjoyed it a lot. Sticking with deathcore, the next one that I listened to was Allegiance by As Blood Runs Black. Now, this is an interesting one to me because I say it's deathcore. I personally would not call this album deathcore, although I guess it technically is, and granted it came out in the mid-2000s, so for the time I guess it probably was deathcore. But to me this is like Slaughter of the Soul by At the Gates if it had breakdowns in it, which to me is like a winning combination because I like breakdowns and I love melodic death metal. So to me this was like a huge win, and I loved this album. I don't know why I hadn't listened to it before. It's a pretty popular album in the deathcore community, like one of the real kind of OGs of deathcore, I guess. Very good riffs on it, really like melodic. I had heard this album was kind of melodic deathcore, which definitely fits. I wouldn't say it really feels to me like just straight up deathcore, like melodic deathcore or something like that definitely fits a lot better, I think. But yeah, if you're a fan of like Slaughter of the Soul type melodic death metal kind of guitar riffs, or even something I would say also like, to me this also reminded me a lot of something like Black Dahlia Murder. If you're into that kind of thing but you want it kind of mixed with a little bit of deathcore, I would definitely recommend checking out this album because it is really, really good, and definitely kind of ticks those boxes if that is something you're interested in. And the last album that I listened to during the month of July was the album Gods of Violence by Kreator. Now, this is a little bit of an out of left field pick for me because I typically don't listen to thrash metal. I've listened to some before, I've listened to some Metallica, I've listened to some Megadeth, and I've thoroughly enjoyed what I listened to of those. I listened to a couple of those albums, and I enjoyed them, but I've never really been much of a thrash metal listener. But in the last couple of years, I've kind of become more of a fan of bands of other styles implementing thrash metal elements. Like, for example, one of my all-time favorite bands is Orbit Culture, which has a bunch of thrash metal DNA in their music. So I've come to appreciate that a little bit more, and lately I've been thinking, I should give some more thrash metal a chance, because I've come to appreciate that sound a little more. Maybe I would enjoy it. And I remember several years ago, like probably around the time this album came out, I listened to the song from this album called Satan is Real, and I really liked that song, and I just never really listened to these guys much after that. So I was like, oh, I could go listen to Kreator because I really liked that song. I could listen to the album this song's from because I really liked it. Maybe I'll enjoy the album. And this, I feel like, is the album that would get me into thrash metal because it is, like I said earlier, I really like melodic stuff. This is a very melodic thrash metal album, and that worked for me so well. I loved so many songs on this album. It's fantastic. I think this was like their 14th album or something like that, so I got plenty more to check out. I will definitely be planning to check out some more Kreator in the future because this was really, really good. I really enjoyed it. So that's it for this video, I guess. Let me know in the comments if you've listened to any of these albums or bands before, what you thought of them, if so, or if there's anything here that sounds interesting to you. And if you've listened to anything cool recently, let me know in the comments as well, all that kind of stuff. And I will probably be doing another one of these videos at the beginning of September to talk about the stuff that I've listened to in August. So yeah, pretty much it for this one. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.